Hello, thank you for this opportunity, and I would like to take it to share my portfolio with you. First, a quick introduction. My name is Grace Ray, and I have had a passion for creating interactive experiences for as long as I can remember. In this presentation, I'm going to do a deep dive into my best works in contribution to the upcoming Steam release, When the Crow Sings. This is an ongoing project with a fixed 8-month duration that we are about 6 months into. On this team, I am the 2D artist and the UI artist. I'm responsible for all UI art in this game, all screens, menus, overlays, you name it, as well as exactly half of the concept and character sprite work split between me and my colleague Basil. I have made comic book pages, concept art, VFX, UI, logos, posters, banners, compositions, splash pieces, thumbnails, and I can't even help but feel I am only getting started. Here are some screenshots and pictures from the game so you're able to get a better visual of what it looks like, showing you some of the environments and different things you can interact with in this game. Starting first with character concept art for the main character, Chance. My objective was to design a protagonist based on a synopsis of their narrative behavior, race, and occupation. The process begins on a base template skeleton to ensure each character in the set share the same relative scale with mild height and proportional differences. Next, I move on to the face, where I capture the character's age and their features, after which I design their clothing, which is greatly dictated by their occupation. The main character in this way stands out the most, which is purposeful. Their personality and their narrative guide their outfit instead of their occupation, since they are unemployed through the course of the game and new to the environment. The color palette of the characters are largely decided by the game's environment and overall aesthetic, as I used an adjacent color palette to the environment, allowing the characters to feel as if they are part of the location, not just placed in it. In the end, I don't think I properly grasped the challenge of designing for 3D, specifically regarding posing in these concept arts. Condensing the body down to my skeleton originally didn't allow for an informative body shape to 3D artists. We did end up working around it, but I know now for future to use a more open posing. That being said, as my first opportunity to design a large quantity of characters for a game, I remain proud of the balance exercised between the uniqueness of each character as well as their cohesiveness as a group. So here are the rest of the concept arts for the rest of the characters. There's Caleb and Farida, Francisco and Philomena, Quinn, and then Chance again, so you can compare him to the others. Next, I'm going to talk about character sprite art using Philomena. The objective here was to take the designs I had made for a set of characters and translate them into visual novel sprites interpreted in the desired style of the game, which was defined by the art lead as a painterly, lineless style with sketchy details. The process begins with sketching out the character and their expressions. Then I paint over it using a set of watercolor and marker-like brushes to achieve a style that is more painted. This can be seen a bit better here with Caleb, giving you a little bit of a better idea of what that looks like and what I mean by that process. After which, I use a pixelated pen brush to line over some harsh contour details to provide depth and achieve a look that feels hand-drawn. In the desire of achieving a more illustrative look, the art lead and I coordinated on adding a bit of hue shifting to each character using a key color from their palette, or assigning one based on their personality. Adding this to the highlights of the sprite features and its contrast in their shadow. Overall, this artistic choice really helps solidify the identity of our game, and I'm proud of it. A key part of the process involved tweening into these facial expressions you see for the sprites. Keeping high tension joints and key muscles in the face on separate layers allowed for me to mold them into different facial expressions. This allowed me to both save time and ensure consistency between faces in dialogue. You can see what I mean a bit here by that. This is what that would look like in game, playing one after another to show the movement in each. Overall, establishing a style in these guidelines was a big challenge for me going into this project. It took several chances and iterations before I felt confident in it, both as a representation of the game and as a style I could work with consistently. However, after working with it for so long now, I basically feel like it's become a second style to me, and it's impacted the way I draw in day-to-day life. Everything I've learned about this process has been incredibly valued to me. I do believe it would have served me well to vary the silhouette more between expressions to better capture character emotion. However, it was also important for me to keep them boxed in for UI design. Finding that balance is where I most improved in the project, and I have done so in more recent character variations like the ones shown above on the right. At this time, I am currently updating the sprite images for existing characters as well. Next, I'm going to talk a bit about the UI design and the art with the dialogue screen. The objective was to design a conventional dialogue screen for a visual novel with space for a name, text box, choice, and sprite display. The illustration of the assets needed to match the established art style of the game. This is my first ever experience with UI design, so I conducted some research into the conventions regarding dialogue. I made something following those conventions using color chosen from the game's established palette, with a brown chosen for the background to ensure contrast against both daylight and nighttime sequences. Harsh black outlines in a texture pen were done to establish a hand-drawn paper-like feel to the UI, which is carried throughout the game and narratively in the journal, and originally drawn from the same methods I used to make the sprite work. In designing these screens, I do think I might have relied too much on these conventions. I would like to break them purposefully in my next engagement with UI design and art making. However, these conventions are important to ensuring a good user experience, so finding that balance is going to be my most important takeaway moving forward. Currently, I'm working on the game's journal map and codex. While some of the more detailed map art is in progress, you can see a bit of what that looks like so far in the game with the history section of the journal. The process has been mostly the same, but I have found myself a bit more comfortable in having fun with the screens I make here. This journal was my biggest UI undertaking so far, and where I felt I was able to grow the most in how I manage the player's screen space in a fun and immersive way. I just want to take a moment to thank you for listening and watching my presentation. Collaborating with Safe Haven Studios to make When the Crow Sings has been an eye-opening experience for me. I'm excited to take everything I have learned and propel myself to new heights. I know there is always room to improve, and I couldn't be more excited to do so. As my contributions to this team grow, so will my presentation, so I thank you for your patience and attention at this time. Picking my best work was difficult, as I've created everything from logos to comic book pages, but it was important to me to highlight the areas I know I have grown in, as my aptitude for improvement is one of the things I value most about my work ethic. Thank you. And with that, I want to open the floor to any questions if there are any, and if not, thank you again. Great. With that, if there is anything else you'd like to know or any question you didn't get answered, you can follow up using this QR code, which will take you to my portfolio, where I go into even more detail regarding my work in this project and others, as well as linking to my relevant social media profiles where you can contact me. Thank you.